Hi, everybody. Ian Bremmer here, and a few words on the latest in this coronavirus crisis. I get a lot of questions from people saying, what's the new normal going to look like? Not when we're coming out of the lockdown. We're getting better information there, of course, now that the numbers are thankfully at least plateauing, if not even leveling off in some of the hardest hit countries in Europe, Italy and Spain in particular. You can understand that 4 weeks to 8 weeks is probably what an effective lockdown looks like, and then you can start pulling back on some of the quarantine measures. But once you do that, what does life look like? What does the economy look like? And I think that the idea that this is back to normal anytime soon is really, really overstated. So, even assuming that we can get businesses and workplaces fully functional with suitable personal protective equipment, that they feel comfortable that we're not going to get significant amounts of further additional cases. So, in the workplace, for example, you organize social distancing in offices, you give people some more flexibility on work from home, and everybody that's coming in contact regularly with people is going to get the mask. And you should be able to get to that point within 3 months in every developed economy around the world. They're already there functionally in China, right? So that allows you to get the economy going again. But it's hard to imagine that you're going to have people going back to bricks and mortar the way they did, right? For a few reasons. First of all, because you've had a whole bunch of people that weren't yet users of digital retail services over a course of 2-3 months, having to get used to that, signing up with accounts. Suddenly they're finding it's convenient, it's easy. And so, of course, they're going to continue. A lot of folks will have fallen off and won't come back. And also the fact that a lot of those people are not going to feel comfortable jumping back into a crowded store, even a grocery store, if they don't absolutely have to. Not when you don't yet have full information and tracking on who does and does not have the disease, who is and is not immune because they've already had it, and does that convey a level of immunity, and you don't have a vaccine. How many people are going to be willing to go and watch a live sporting event or go to a crowded bar or even a crowded restaurant? All of these things, it seems to me, do not get back to real normal until you have a vaccine that is distributed globally with the technology information on individual people to back it up. And that's a year and a half out, right? So, the amount of artificially depressed economy because you've changed people's psychology around the economy, not just because you're saying, oh, it's illegal, you have to engage in social distancing, I think takes a lot longer. That's certainly going to be true with things like tourism. Who's going to be interested in getting in a middle seat and bringing their family down to Disneyland in this environment, right? Just hard to imagine. And then you have the questions of emerging markets, which can't engage in social distancing because the people don't have the space, which don't have the money to shut down their economies fully, and won't have the technology to be able to ensure that everyone is or is not going to be identified as being a carrier, asymptomatic or not. Well, those economies are going to be depressed for a lot longer. The secondary outbreaks that come seasonally are likely to be much more significant, and the shutdowns of travel to and from those economies from the developed countries and from China also to last a lot longer. So on that front, you're seeing supply chains and travel chains that are going to be broken, not just for a few months, but more like a year or a year and a half. I do think you will get back to a more new normal once you actually have a working vaccine and once you have the tech. But again, that's more like mid-2021 than it is later in this year. We'll feel like society functions a lot more effectively, but you're going to have taken a lot of people out of that economy. I mean, the working class and the middle class, we already saw growing inequality in the United States. I think that's going to grow much more significantly in the U.S. and Europe. And a global middle class in emerging markets that really benefited from globalization is going to get hurt quite a bit from deglobalization. The CEOs I've talked to over the course of the last week have all made it clear that when they come out of this crisis, they will be running much more efficiently with fewer people and with smaller real estate footprints. So you're going to hit commercial real estate in a big way. You're going to hit the average member of the working and middle class in a big way. And those are, of course, precisely the people that weren't as capable of working from home to begin with. The knowledge economy, no problem streaming on Zoom. No problem continuing to pick up your paycheck in most cases, right? But if you're like an essential worker, and some of those essential workers, whether it's in sanitation or it's in retail or driving, are making $10, $12, some even $8 an hour, and suddenly they're the ones that are most endangered by the environment of coronavirus, and they're the ones that are most dispensable when suddenly we come back to full functioning of the economy. I mean, clearly that's going to require very significant redistribution in the kinds of social safety net, the benefits those people receive. And by the way, if that's not done at the government level, you're likely to see much more political polarization. Remember, that's how you got Trump. It's how you got Bernie Sanders. It's how you got Brexit. This is a much greater shock to those people, this level of disempowerment, the amount of economic destruction that's going to come. And while we in the developed world have enough money to keep these people afloat for the 6 months of the worst contraction in the economy, that doesn't mean they're going to be doing better when suddenly we've just run a 20% to GDP deficit, and where's the money for 2021 when they're still hurting? If you don't fix that longer term, and of course after 2008, 2009, we did not, good reasons to believe that we won't effectively after this crisis, the political polarization is going to grow vastly more toxic than what we saw the last time around. So some things to think about. Hope everyone is well and hunkered down, bunkered down in your places, live streaming here with you. I will be back again later in the week. Take it easy, guys.